We're here today with Dominick Blue. Dominick is a managing partner at Nostra Group, and he has a portfolio of small businesses that he owns. He's also using AI to turbocharge them. He got into the small business space after a career in the Marine Corps and then a brief stint in corporate America. And then he took to Main Street. So really excited to have you here, Dominick.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, if you don't mind, would love to kind of hear a little bit about the first acquisition that you made, kind of your foray into Main Street deals, and then we can take it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I launched like my official search in 2023 with Nostra Group, sent out a couple LOIs, finally landed on the deal that I ended up closing roughly July of 2023.
Okay.
It was just under $2 million annual revenue. It was an air duct cleaning business, good management team. So bought that company. That took me 6 months to close. There were some like 11th hour challenges that we had to overcome. But along the way, ended up finding deal number 2 that we ended up closing in short order after deal 1.
And was HVAC a space that you were looking in when you were looking for businesses, or was it more kind of industry agnostic? You opportunistically saw a really good air duct cleaning business and kind of went from there.
So when I first started out, because I'm coming from the software engineering world, I originally started thinking about acquiring like either an MSP or some type of software related business.
Sure.
But because of the multiples and the fact that I was investing off my own balance sheet, I decided to go the home services route. And admittedly, when I first started, I didn't have a thesis. So
Sure.
I was just looking at everything from like automotive shops to landscaping. I mean, you name it, I was looking at it. And then it was like right towards the time that I found this deal that I had finally like revised my thesis into a home services business constrained in Southern California market that was doing 500 to 750 in STV.
And did you use an SBA loan to finance the first one?
I did. I actually used SBA loan to finance both of them.
Okay, awesome. And then how did you recruit the HVAC manager? Because I imagine that's a hot commodity to find.
Very serendipitous. So I think people
may
might
help
not
with
believe
other
it.
people.
Yeah, probably people won't believe this story, but literally I put out an ad on Indeed for an HVAC manager.
Sure.
And, of course you get a ton of people applying. And this guy's named Mike. He was relocating back to Southern California from Texas, and he was actually running his own business in Texas. And he had previously ran his own business in Southern California. And so, during the interview process, I said, why wouldn't you just start your own business again? And he was like, honestly, man, I hate the business side. I just want to do the HVAC stuff.
Sure.
So I'd rather come in and just be a manager and not have to deal with the business aspects of the operation.
That's awesome. And then how quickly after the first close did you close on the second one?
So January 19th, we closed on deal 1. February, I had a baby.
Oh, wow.
And then April 21st, we closed on deal 2.
Man, that's bad. So you had just wrapped out kind of like a 90-day transition on the first one.
Exactly. Yeah. And then we went right into a 90-day like merger period where we were merging technology and processes and things.
Sure. And if you don't mind, walk me through kind of the average timeline of a job. So you build one of these relationships, let's say with a property manager. They have a property that needs an HVAC unit diagnosed. Does it start with like a site visit, or do you have some routing for the job off the bat? Walk me through that if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty standard for us. We receive a request, we get them on the calendar as soon as possible. We'll go out, we'll do an assessment, create a quote. Once the quote's approved by the customer, we typically like to document, who the decision maker is. We ran into the issue, like early on, we ran into an issue where we would do a job and then get to the end and go to collect payment and realize that the decision maker, being the homeowner or the property manager, wasn't the person involved. And then we ran into like an issue with actually collecting payment. So yeah, we go in, identify the decision maker, document that, receive their approval for the quote. And then depending on the job, maybe if it's like a minor repair, we probably do it that day. Or if it's something larger like an installation, we'll go out and get our materials and then prepare then for another day for the installation. So,
Okay. Got it. And then let's say it's more of an installation piece. Are people typically having exclusive distributor arrangements with certain brands, or is there some type of like wholesaler or distributor where you're able to pick up most parts regardless of it? What does that look like?
in Orange County, at least, we work with AC Pro quite extensively. There are some other ones that we've used in the past, but mainly AC Pro because it's actually quite central to the territory that we operate in. And we don't get a lot of, I mean, you get your onesies and twosies where customers will request specific equipment, but
Sure.
99% of the time, people are looking to optimize for cost over brand.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And with something like AC Pro, are you on some type of like payment arrangement where you're, able to get some amount of cash conversion from billing the customers first and then paying them? Or are you typically having to close out the day that you're getting the parts?
Yeah, so actually, our approach currently is 30 to 50% down deposit from the customer. And that's so we can procure materials and whatever the case is, right? It also kind of, I guess from an emotional standpoint, once they put that much money down, then they're emotionally bought into to getting the job actually completed.
Sure.
Right? Yeah, so I think that works for multiple reasons.
Yep. That makes sense. And what would you say right now is the constraint?
Talent.
Talent.
Talent is specifically in the Southern California market. It is very difficult. And I haven't uncovered why. It's a conversation that I have all the time and I don't have a good answer for it yet. But I know for sure the number one thing we struggle with is talent.
Tech talent that's the constraint?
That's right. That's right. Because like what we see in the market right now is you either have the very experienced folks who, are maybe in their late 50s or 60s. They don't want to go on the road. They don't want to climb in attics, but they have all the industry knowledge and experience. Or you have the young, sprite, like excited new technicians who are just coming out of school. And so what we run into is not only is there a disparity between the two age groups, so like internally culturally, they miss each other from a communication standpoint.
Yeah.
But then you also have that like kind of gatekeeping mentality that happens from the older folks. And then you have more from the younger, like Gen Z type of employees, you get more of I don't want to call it an attitude, but it's
Sure.
a more willingness to speak up about what they think they deserve.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Whereas like, culturally, especially for me coming from the Marine Corps, it's like, you're the new guy. You just like shut up and learn from the senior guy. And then you can have an opinion eventually. But like you've been here for 5 minutes. So you probably should just hold on before you start giving your opinions about things.
Yeah. I love it. Last thing before I really want to pick your brain a little bit on how you're using artificial intelligence for kind of Main Street service businesses. Before we go there, the last question would be, how does your experience serving map to your experience owning a small business? Like what have you found to be similar or good parallels versus like, hey, this is apples to oranges?
I think two things. One is the dynamic nature of decision making, right? So like anybody who's operated a business for 10 minutes will know that within that 10 minutes, you probably had to make like 100 decisions.
Sure.
The military kind of prepares you to operate in an environment where you have limited information and you need to make sound decisions. So that's one. The other one is cultivating a culture of mentorship and coaching. Right. And I can only speak for the Marine Corps because that's where I served. But the Marine Corps is very good at cultivating its own leaders. And so at a small business, kind of going back to that disparity between like the technician age gap and things, it's very important to be able to understand like how do you get two people to sit down and one learn from the other. And it's a two-way street, right? But yeah, so I think that has really helped being able to communicate things in a way that makes people feel heard and feel like they're a part of the mission right? Maybe that's the third thing is the mission aspect. You have to have everybody rowing in the same direction.
Sure.
Otherwise, you just can't make progress.
Yeah. Awesome. So now onto artificial intelligence. You've not only acquired businesses, you started at least one from scratch. And I know the one you're currently working on helps small businesses leverage artificial intelligence to build better businesses, essentially. What does that typically look like? Are we thinking like revenue growth, reducing costs? Walk me through what the common project or the common application of AI is.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I'll bucket it into three themes. One is margin growth. Another is reduction in expenses. And the third one, and to me, this is the most important one, at least from my experience and the experience of, friends that I have, is the ability to get back time. And that third one, we call that the messy inbox problem, right?
Sure.
Where on any given day, you're receiving 50 phone calls, 100 emails, 30 text messages. And, as a business owner, you should be making 1 to 3 impactful decisions a day that move your business forward. But you get caught up in all these little fires that are popping up that you find yourself trying to put out. And that's because either A, your team doesn't have the capacity to handle that decision making, or maybe they don't have the capability, or quite frankly, they just haven't been trained, right?
Sure.
The more you go down the rabbit hole of putting out those fires, the less you're focusing on those impactful decisions that actually move your business forward.
Man, speaking my language. Let's double click on maybe the margin expansion one first. What are the common applications that you're seeing?
Yeah, so I'll give you a use case. So I've had a few conversations this week with folks who are further up the chain. Maybe they're doing, a $20 million acquisition, or they have a platform company and they're doing a roll up. The idea is for them to seamlessly integrate, but simultaneously scale.
Yeah.
Those are two very different problems. And we can start out by being, in the tech world, you call it a co-pilot. So you're augmenting the people you have in place, right, with automation and technology. But a good use case for this is we would have AI agents who are specialized in 4 main business functions: sales and marketing, customer support, bookkeeping and finance, and dispatching and logistics.
Sure.
So let's say hypothetically you're a truck-based business like plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and you do a roll-up. So you're bringing in people, you're bringing on more trucks, more technicians, but you want to maximize the margins that you're going to experience through this acquisition. As opposed to bringing on all of that additional staff, if you have this type of AI agent platform, you could automate the customer service to dispatch workflow, the invoicing, and contacting customers for payment collection and things like that. You can automate all that with your agents and keep a very lean back office, and then take all of that and plow it into additional vehicles, equipment, training for technicians, or hiring more technicians. Because as we all know, in a truck business, your revenue generators really are the technicians on the field. That's a use case that we're solving for today.
And where do you see this going? In 5 years from now, is it essentially just like an owner, techs, and a couple of like biz dev folks building relationships, and everything else is AI? Or like what do you think will remain, onshore American labor versus go either to AI or offshore?
Yeah, so we're actually trying to replace the BPO model. And the reason for that is because, and we all know this. In fact, I was reading one of your LinkedIn posts today about how important it is for operators to be local to maintain that connection to community.
Sure.
And so how I explain this to small business owners is, do you want your customer service reps spending all their time responding to emails or building better relationships with your customers?
Sure.
I would opt for the latter. Right. Because that's the whole reason why we buy small business, is because we want to build relationships with our community. And so I don't actually see the model of the business changing. I see the value of what the employees you have changing, the values that they can deliver. So your biz dev reps or your customer service reps can spend more time following up with customers to see how their experience was and learning from them, or reaching out to the local school to discuss that sponsorship that the local baseball team needs. And you really want to help, you just don't have time because you're answering all these emails and phone calls and requests and things. Right. So I think it fundamentally changes how humans will be able to interact with other humans, while we take the tedious, monotonous work and we automate that using AI.
And how do you view like wage prices changing in the future? Like, do more people ultimately become technicians because a lot of the back office work you need fewer people for? And what, like, walk me through how you see that playing out.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there could be a space where, everybody is at the very least aware of AI, right? Like today, if you own a small HVAC business in, the Midwest, the chances that your customer service rep has the awareness or capability of utilizing AI to make their jobs better is quite low, right? But I could see a world where we all recognize the value. We all become at least aware and users of it. They don't have to become developers of it. They can become users. And then they can focus on, again, changing their job role.
Sure.
Right. So I think, going back to the question you asked, like, where do we see this in 5 years? I see this as, you have an owner, you have a platform that is your virtual COO that kind of runs a lot of the business.
Sure.
And then you have a handful of folks who are relationship builders, who are capable of utilizing AI, and really focused on the relationship building. So, no longer will be the days of, I just have to pick up a phone and forward a request. Like, you need to have those soft skills that allow you to build long-standing relationships.
Yep. Fascinating. If you're an existing small business owner and you want to start testing AI in your business, between improving your margins, reducing costs, getting time back, where do you recommend folks start?
One, I recommend them reaching out to me.
Sure.
But I think, I say us mainly because, I'm building this from the perspective of a owner. I'm dog fooding this. I'm using it myself in my business. And so I have a fairly good intuition on what's going to be valuable.
Well, Dom, it's been great catching up with you. We check in this time next year. Where do you hope to be?
Yeah. So this time next year, looking for, on the HVAC business side, minimum 25% growth on that side. And then we're looking to grow this AI company exponentially, so that we can start helping SMB owners all across the country.
I love it. And if people want to reach out to you on the AI front, where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn, Dominick Blue, Twitter, Dominick_Blue. And then our website is recon.ai, RDEKON.ai.
Yeah.
Or they can just shoot an email, Dominick@nostragroup.com.
Awesome. But thanks so much for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks.